So today, thanks for everybody for joining us. My name is Beverly. I am one of the co-owners and co-founders of Silverleaf Practice Management Solutions. And today I have Gabriel Alvarez, one of our providers that we've set up a long time ago. How long has it been since we set you up?
I think it was 2022. Or
Really?
I think we started in 2021, actually. No, we started in 2021, and then I opened the doors, I believe, in 2022. It
Yeah,
feels like so long ago, I can't remember.
I know you were like one of our first ones that we set you up a long time ago. So it's been a while. So tell
Yeah.
us a bit about yourself, your practices, the services you offer, where you're located. Tell us a little bit about all that.
Yeah, so Gabriel Alvarez, nurse practitioner in family practice and psychiatry. Basically, I have been practicing in Florida, where I live in Central Florida. Um, I opened up my practice in 2021, Stillwater Psychiatry, provide telehealth and now in office, but I did start telehealth. Go into that a little bit later. But for the most part, now we've kind of expanded in the last year, adding on some new providers. So that's been, interesting how it rolls out. Kind of going through one thing at a time. I got to the point where I felt like, it's either I have to stop taking on patients or decide to grow. So that was a decision that I had to make recently. But basically, it's been going great. It's we provide some psychotherapy add-on as well to the medication management visits. So
Awesome.
just taking it one day at a time. Today, I'm sorry, I'm a little tired today.
That's okay. It's kind of a crazy ride when you start out your private practice. And I know it takes a little time to get kind of your bearings straight. Did I glitch? I glitched there for just a minute, didn't I? Could you still
A
hear
little
me?
bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I hear you.
It snowed here in Alaska yesterday, like 15 inches. So my Starlink, I think, is struggling just a little bit. So hopefully it'll make it through the rest of this meeting. But I was just saying, it's difficult when you first start up. It goes. It's kind of like I've explained Silverleaf, kind of like I'm on a horse and I'm riding it, and the reins keep falling. I keep grabbing and I just hold on and I keep going. But sometimes it just takes off pretty fast. And it sounds like you've been pretty successful since you launched, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So what inspired you to start your private practice? A lot of providers are like, should I not? What is it that made you decide to take that jump into private practice?
To be honest, burnout. So
Common.
basically, was working community mental health for about 5 years, and I was the only Spanish provider, bilingual provider in a Spanish community. So with a over 100% show up rate every day, so it was very very exhausting.
Yeah.
15-minute follow-ups. Most of how that feels. Definitely. So I think that's kind of what led me to was like, okay, let me look in other options. So I started looking around at other practices, asking some of the drug reps, hey, well, what are some pros or cons from other offices that you're hearing from people? Kind of got that information. Based on that, I was like, well, at this point, it really doesn't matter how much money they offer me because I need to keep my sanity. So that's when I started looking into building up my own practice. So that's really what led me to do that because they were pretty flexible with me as far as everything else goes. But I think it was just more finding that balance.
Yeah, because they'll work you to death. If you're making somebody else money, I'd rather work myself to death making my money than to work myself to death making somebody else money. So
Exactly.
a lot of entrepreneurs kind of feel like that. So if you could go back in time, back to 2021, and everything that you've learned over the last almost 4 years, what advice would you give your younger self starting over?
I definitely start sooner because, like I said, I would have prevented the burnout there. But also, I did plenty of research, I feel. And then obviously, I linked up with you guys as well for your services, which was very helpful. But definitely, I think I stocked the Facebook pages of the Psych MPs and all that and the business owners for a while, for about 6, 7 months, just trying to get some good information. But really learning how to delegate are some of the things, like as I was starting and getting busier, that's something a lot of us struggle with. obviously, especially when it's your baby, you kind of want to protect it, and you don't really want other people involved, because my big thing is customer service with mental health services. So, nobody can provide that as I could. So I thought, but definitely I was able to add a good team on board. So definitely knowing that you don't have to do it all alone um, is a big thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things for people to juggle when they're doing their practice, because it is your baby. You're right. I had the same problem. Like, I know where everything is. I know how everything works. And being able to give that control up a little bit and trust people that you hire on to do these things, teach them how you want them to do it, and that kind of thing. So you kind of make carbon copies of yourself, so to speak. But you're still watching, but it's not extending yourself, your hours and days, because you probably know, right? Working a business of your own, you can work 16, 18-hour days. It'll just consume your entire life. And you have to know when to get some help for sure. So we talked a little bit about a challenge as far as getting help, but what are some of the biggest challenges you think that you faced when you first started your practice? What sticks out
I
to you?
could tell you, I could tell you insurance companies, and specifically, I don't know if I should name it here, but it rhymes with blue,
Yeah.
here in Florida. But for the most part, um, one thing I learned and a good piece of advice when dealing with that company in Florida would be to don't assume that you should start seeing patients when they give you a start date. The reason what happened to me, and things that I tell other providers when they ask me for advice when starting their business, is basically, you got a start date, but you start seeing patients, and then all of a sudden 6 months go by and you haven't got paid yet, and you're like, wait up, I got a start date, and this only happened with this one company. So um I realized how disorganized it was a little bit. I was calling every month, say, hey, what's going on? Every time I would call, they would give me a different story, and obviously, I was doing all this myself. So, word of advice is to make sure you have everything set up, and with them specifically in Florida, to have a direct deposit set up. Once you have direct deposit set up, you're golden. As soon as you start sending those claims in, you're gonna start getting paid. After that, they've been great, but it was just a really big process. I had 6, 7 months of seeing patients, and that was it's the biggest insurance out here, and didn't get a dime from them until at least 7 months later. So
It's my
that was the
money.
biggest hurdle.
Where's my money?
Exactly. Like, you guys said I could start seeing patients. What's going on here?
It's not uncommon.
So
It's not uncommon at all. It happens with other insurances too, because for some reason in 2024, the credentialing department doesn't talk to the people that actually process the claims or whatever. And then claims get kicked back saying that you're out of network. And you're like, no, I'm not. I have this letter. And now you got to submit all this extra documentation and reprocess the claims and all of this stuff. And you're like, you told me I could start seeing patients. So that happens quite frequently. Um,
oh,
what
yes.
what do you feel like the biggest misconception about starting a private practice was, if you have one?
Definitely. I felt like I had a pretty good network of therapists, providers, um, that I would be able to get some clientele of Spanish speaking in Central Florida. So I thought I was pretty ahead of the game. But my first month, I only had one patient.
That's scary.
So yeah, so at the end of the day, definitely I would say to start working on networking even beforehand. So the misconception would be that patients are gonna start coming through the door. Um, you want to be prepared. You want to be prepared. You want to have an emergency fund. Thankfully, I think that month was a good, healthy month, because it scared the living bejesus out of me. Nah, not really, but basically it lit a fire under me to basically, take the time to go and network, to, meet new people, build relationships, which, at the end of the day has been my best marketing tool, until now. So
How,
definitely don't.
sorry about that. Go ahead. Definitely.
Yeah, don't assume that, that even if you have a niche, or you speak a different language, or whatnot, that people are just going to come pretty quickly.
That is a huge misconception that we see with a lot of providers, that they think, oh, I started my practice, where's the patient? Or they come to us to start at their initial, and you did this with us too. I think we did your basic marketing. They think the moment you start posting a couple of things on Facebook, you have all these people start flooding in. And there's a big learning curve there, right? I didn't even know when I started this business that it takes about 6 months for you to actually start popping up in the SEOs, for you actually start popping up on Facebook feeds and all of that kind of stuff. And that's a long time to wait when you're like, hey, I need to be making money, right? So where would you say, like, once you started your marketing stuff and you're doing your stuff and we're doing helping you with marketing, where would you say that you felt like the snowball kind of hit the top of the mountain and started rolling down? What time frame would you say that happened for you?
Literally, I would say 6 months around there. Definitely, I started seeing the trickle in, but like you said, the SEO and the marketing, the Google profile, where was it popping up in the search engines and things like that. I would say, yeah, about 6 months is probably the sweet spot, where I started seeing that, and then now it's even better than ever.
Yeah.
A year into it, now with what you guys helped me set up to do the reviews, to help encourage people to do the reviews. That's kind of boosted us all the way to the top on Google. So that's actually been great marketing tool.
Doing the Google review for the automatic emails that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if
Oh,
it's,
and
go ahead.
Yelp, don't trust Yelp unless you're paying them the annual fee because they hold your reviews hostage.
Good to know. I didn't
I
even
got,
know that.
I got, I got 17 reviews there, 5 stars, and nobody will ever see them. And I refuse to pay 400, whatever it is a month, 300 or a year, whatever it is.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Well, if you give them the link of Yelp, it doesn't count. They have to basically search through Yelp, find you on there, use your service, and then basically use a review, leave a review for them to consider it a review. Even so,
Well, Yelp
yeah.
kind of
Just
yesterday.
just so everybody knows.
Good to know. I look for Yelp for restaurants and stuff like that. I don't know that I would use them for a provider, but I think Google is huge. The only thing I want to mention about Google is if you are a strictly telehealth provider, you have to have a physical address. And like now they've changed it because used to you could just, post your business on Google. It wasn't a big deal. And I guess they had a bunch of fraud or something. I don't know. But now they make you go take pictures of the front of your business and submit all this stuff before they will Google verify you. And so Silverleaf can't do that because we don't have a physical space. We're all telehealth. We have a mailing service, but that doesn't count. So we can't get on Google and have Google reviews because of that little stipulation they have. So just, they all have their little
Uh,
ins and outs and things.
I was explaining that to somebody the other day because yeah, it's like, hold on, there's a lot more to that though. Because yeah, now they make you verify everything. And I started off telehealth. I don't know if you remember, but I started off telehealth and basically I had an issue where I used a company, third party company, and it was at a Staples, my mailing address. And then all of a sudden the Staples closed because a lot of them went out of business or just closed. So then I was like, had issues with the insurance companies. They said, "Oh, we mailed your check over there." I'm like, "No, I updated the address a while ago."
Yeah, that's nothing with insurance
So
companies. They don't update stuff very timely.
exactly.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I learned. I learned.
Yeah. It's all these little things that you learn as you're going. Nobody can prepare you for all the little nuances and little curveballs that you could get thrown. So financial planning, right? That's always vital for any practice. And we get questions all the time about, well, how much, on the financial side, how much money should I have saved to start my practice? Does it cost a lot of money to start my practice? Should I keep my full-time job? Should I do a part-time job? Should I just go full-time in my private practice? What advice would you give people when they're thinking about starting their private practice as far as financials goes?
So definitely, obviously, have an emergency fund, right? So I think my startup cost me about 10 grand.
That's a lot.
Um, Definitely, what helped me out was I was telehealth only, right? So, and I always tell people that, or I always recommend, low overhead. That's the key to successful business and less stress.
Yeah.
So you sleep at night. So I would say low overhead, number one, and having a little cushion before you open your doors, because there is going to be that time frame. But and especially if you just get credentialed with insurances, it's going to take. I think it was what like I think it's 2 3 months before you get your first paycheck from them, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, but afterwards, and yeah, it's a lot faster. But for that first paycheck, it's going to take a few months. So I would say, yeah, definitely keeping the overhead low. Now I have an office, but it's very inexpensive. I looked around for a while and I found a really good place. So even now, my monthly expenses are very minimal.
Awesome. Yeah, that the insurance thing, you know what happens there? They do this adjudication process. So basically when you're brand new, every claim you submit goes to, even though you're submitting it electronically, a human stops it and looks at it, reviews it, makes sure everything's okay. And then they send it on to the person that cuts the check, right? It's not done electronically. The first, they all have different points there, like, is it 50 claims, 100 claims? They don't tell you. They just all have this process. So, and then they cut the check and then snail mail the check to you. So that takes time until you get to their adjudicate, their limit or whatever. Then it'll start going through electronically, and then boom, you're seeing, goes through, they process it, it goes into your bank without any kind of blips. So it does take time there. And if you start out really busy, then that time is stretched out. And you're like, I should be making all this money and I'm not making any money yet. So you're right. Keeping your overhead down, so important. I've seen so many providers go and jump off in these $1,000 a month EHR systems. They go set up this big office and they have $1,000 or more a month of rent, and they don't have patients. And then they start freaking out because they're not making any money, right? So I think that's excellent advice, hearing that coming from a provider for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but I searched around for EHR for like 6-7 months. And I ended up going with IntakeU per you guys' recommendation, but it was what made sense. I paid a little bit more upfront, but reality is the inexpensiveness monthly is amazing compared to some of the ones that I was looking at that were $400 or $500 a month, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, some of them
cringe when I hear that.
Yeah, so I've seen one $1,200, another one, and I won't mention any names, but another one was like 17% of collections. Like 17% of collections? That's crazy money.
Yeah, I know someone similar, one similar. I remember that one. I was like, yeah, no, nobody's coming.
Oh no, we glitched again.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think you got, it's showing red on your side too, so maybe we're having a little bit, but I think we're doing fine. So a couple of things, I guess. Another question would be, where do you see the future of mental health care headed, and how are you preparing for it? Have you read anything lately that you're like, oh, we need to prepare for this, or these type of situations? Maybe do you see anything different changing for you with the future of mental health, or things that you're thinking about proactively doing in your practice?
Yeah, and before I go to that, actually, I want to touch on something about the previous question.
Yeah.
Tax strategies.
Oh yeah.
I think that's essential to get a good accountant or a good buddy who's already opened up business before, and really pick their brain, do a lot of research on best ways to tax strategize, because it makes a huge difference, huge difference as far as keeping a lot of the money that you make.
For sure.
Now, as far as keeping up with the times, yeah, definitely. I'm follow a few of the bigger names as far as speakers and all that, and they like to educate on the new treatment options out there. Me myself, I've kept it pretty basic in the sense of the typical just office setting. I haven't thought about I thought about it, but adding on some other services. But really, I'm trying to keep my piece and do one thing at a time. But I would say I'm aware of a lot of the other options. I have referral sources, great referral sources, and if I don't get good reviews from my patients that I send over there, then obviously I find other ones. But definitely having a good handful of sources to refer people to these newer options like Spravato, TMS, things like that. Some of the other things that are coming out. And it's a lot. I mean, we're living in times that, thankfully, I always tell my patients this and other people that, thankfully, I love practicing nowadays because we have so many great options compared to the limited options back then. I couldn't see my job being so rewarding compared as it is now if I was practicing, 30 years ago.
Right.
But definitely, I would say I would like to evolve with the times, but then also I want to make sure that I don't spread myself too thin, because a master of too many trades is gonna, sometimes you get lost.
Sure.
And,
No, I like what you hit on there.
and money leaks.
Yeah, I like what you hit on there, that you have the resources, right? If you're not doing it, you should know somebody that is, so that you can refer those patients. Those patients are going to trust you, right? Instead of saying, I don't know, there's people that do TMS. You can get on Google or whatever. If you can give them somebody, and you have that relationship with those people, then those people are going to send you people, and that's just a good way to network as well. And then having those resources, like you said, you have certain people that you follow. Do you have anybody that you could just off the top of your head, like follow this person, follow that person, anybody that you can think of that you would recommend other providers follow to kind of stay up on the times?
I think it's Rakesh Jain.
Okay.
I like him. He has a good on LinkedIn. He does like weekly, almost daily posts.
Awesome.
The Carla report talks about a lot of the newer options, some of the research out there. They have, I think, podcasts and a subscription and all that.
Yeah.
I usually listen to the podcasts when I have time when I'm driving, just to touch base. But definitely Rakesh Jain is the my main one, because I'll usually see him on my LinkedIn with the newer treatment options that just got approved and things like that. Drug reps are another great resource. Sometimes they let you know about new medications that are coming out or that have come out that, in private practice and community mental health, I used to hear everything like right away, I feel like. But in community mental private practice, I'm not as sharp. I might hear about it months later after it gets approved, FDA approval, compared to community mental health. I feel like it was much more faster.
Yeah. You have more resources that are bringing resources to you in those
Mhm.
community health areas. So those are good suggestions. So do you have any, I call them feel good stories, like since you've started your practice, can you tell a difference in stories with your patients, right? Like you could, in community health, you were talking about you're seeing patients every 15 minutes, right? You're just getting them through and like herding them through like cattle, basically, and you don't feel like you're really being able to give the quality of care that you can when you slow down, right? And you refocus and you're running your private practice. I'm not asking about patient names. I'm just saying, do you have any memorable patient stories that happen? Maybe you helped somebody stay out of the hospital or something that you can just say, yes, this one really sticks out that made me feel like I made the right decision in what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's been a few of those stories along the way. And another thing is, since I actually do care, and that's why I burned myself out, I would run an hour, 2 hours late in community mental health because I still took the time, but then I was just running late, which I hated, making people wait. But yeah, no, I would say at least in prior practice with the Spruce app,
Mhm.
patients have access to me through the weekend, so sometimes I'm able to help them avoid hospitalizations, which is big to me because I feel like hospitalizations they're an important part of what we do, but also can be traumatizing as well.
Sure.
So, definitely any chance that I get to be able to help somebody avoid the hospital, get them feeling better, yeah, and not have that negative impact of being hospitalized against their will or whatnot. Obviously, it's there if it's needed, but that's a big thing. I had a patient that I followed up with today, 19-year-old, uh, um, benzodiazepine addiction, treating them for depression, anxiety, ADHD, and for the most part, he wasn't honest at first, but building that relationship, we were able to, he was able to open up and really feel like I actually cared. So he actually opened up, and now I saw him today, and I'm like, man, we're just looking back to when we first met. It's night and day. He's in school. He's started college courses now, and he was barely graduating high school. So, and he's been clean and in recovery. So it's a lot of great stories. Hard to recall them off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
that's one that I just followed up with today.
Kind of caught you on the spot there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes it worth it, right? Because you're going to go through all of these trials and tribulations of getting your business up and going. It's going to be stressful. You're going to question yourself whether you're doing the right thing or not. But when you have those situations that happen, once you get through all of that, you're able to sit there and kind of pat yourself on the back, right? But it makes you feel good too to reflect and say, I make a difference, because you do make a difference. You may not see that every day. You may not feel like you make that difference every day, but you do. And so being able to inspire other practitioners and just saying, hang in there, because you're going to have some really crappy days sometimes. And you just have to
Mhm,
go,
mhm.
it's worth it. It's worth it. We make a difference with people, impacting people. So with, when you got started and you came to us and stuff here at Silverleaf, what were some of the problems that you were searching for solutions for? And then just tell folks like how we helped you, what services that you used of ours, and just, what you thought about everything. Just kind of let them know what your review, I guess, lack of a better word, is of us and our company, and how, if you would recommend us to other folks, just give us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at the time, like I said, I was working full time, and I had two young kids. I think they were probably 5 and 3 at the time when started. So, and I really had time. So, reality is, I had to make a decision. I was doing a lot of research on my own and getting I was on the Facebook pages and just Google searching and just getting to talk to anybody that has a practice already or has also been thinking about opening one, and just getting all the information I could. Based on that, I was like, I got no time for this. So, but I want to do it.
Mhm.
So then I don't even know how. I'm assuming, yeah, no, through the Facebook page is how I came across you guys. So, and I reached out to a few of the companies because to me, my time is vital. Money comes and goes, but my time, I don't mind putting in investment if it's going to be worth it. So that was my take, right? So yeah, I ended up deciding to go with you guys for the services. I think pretty much I use all your services. Shahid helped me start the website. I started it, but it was kind of like one of those what is it, GoDaddy or something like that .com, and then I started, but then I realized, all right, I'm getting a little. This is gonna take too much time for me.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get the ideas like that. I appreciate what goes into that stuff and the integrations and all that. And I'm the type of person that I like to know exactly how to do things for the most part, have an idea, even if somebody else does it for me. And that's what I liked about working with Silverleaf and you guys, because at the end of the day, even like billing, you guys taught me how to do billing, so I didn't want to outsource that yet. So I chose that option. The website, the logo, Shahid helped me out with and made those. And then what was it? I'm trying to think back. She's so long ago.
You do spruce with
Um,
us?
the Spruce,
And
yep,
then
Spruce. For
yeah,
my patients love Spruce, and I love Spruce.
yeah, makes life easy.
Uh, yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. And now that I have like 4 or 5 staff, we're able to page each other on there to communicate about patients, and then I can just quickly knock it off my to-do list, so I don't have to worry about it. And they page me only as needed now, so I'm
Nice.
not getting all of the
The
going through
inbox.
all the messages. Oh my gosh, I remember that at the beginning. So yeah, Spruce, the EHR, the intake queue. I love intake queue. Definitely. I've always tell people, I felt like I was picking a second wife when I was looking for an EHR because it feels.
Oh no, we cut out there. You're gonna have to say that again because we glitched there for a second.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
felt like you
I
were
was
taking
basic.
a second wife, then that's where I lost you.
Yeah, no, I took the picking an EHR like picking a second wife because I felt like it was a huge commitment. I kept reading other people like, oh, I'm here with this EHR. What do you think about this one? I'm having to pay now thousands of bucks to transfer over to this newer HR, and then I was like, oof, I definitely don't want to make that mistake because it sounds like a headache and it's costly. So definitely, I'm very happy that I ended up going with Intake Q for the most part. Nothing's perfect, but I feel like for me, it's been pretty darn perfect. Especially obviously with you guys setting it up. So that's why when I realized, okay, if I like intake Q and I saw how you guys built it out and you gave me that demo, and I didn't really understand it at that time how it was going to really work. It was kind of like I've seen demos left and right, and I was like, okay, what makes this really different than the other ones, right? Does the labs really integrate? Does this, So it was, but I felt like at least with you guys and you specifically, because I know I worked with you, especially at the beginning, that for the most part, I had that support that I was like, okay, they know what they're doing. I don't mind paying for their services because they know what they're doing. So to me, that initial investment to set up intake queues, Spruce website. That was peanuts compared to the piece that I had when I opened up, and literally everything worked the way it was supposed to work, you know? So, and obviously I reached out to you guys as the years have gone on, and as I
We froze again. Ugh, that's so frustrating. Internet.
cutting out for real.
Yeah, if we cut out again.
Okay.
That you reached out to us. You were saying you reached out to us over the years. We're still doing marketing for you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. So you're still doing marketing since day one. Like I said, yeah, that it took some time with the marketing, but for the most part, I hate social media. I hate getting on there. So definitely, and the new addition to your team, Vasilis, I think his
yeah,
name.
yeah, Vasily.
Vasily, yeah, he's been great. You could tell he knows what he's doing. He's been, I guess he worked. Yeah, when he breaks down the stuff for me, I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. But and he didn't sugarcoat. He's like, it's gonna take some months definitely to start seeing it, but it definitely has been helpful. And I see it because I get the Google reports, like how did people find your business? What are the top searches?
No, we're still glitching. I think we're both having problems on either side, but we're almost done here. You said that
Okay.
showing red on your side, and then every once in a while I get something up on mine's unstable. So for some reason, we're getting on both ends, but I think we're moving along okay. You said, Vasily, you say in the reports in Google, yeah, he gives me reports every month too for Silverleaf, and he does a lot of work over there. And I like that he doesn't sugarcoat it, right? Because the last thing I want is people coming to us thinking we have some kind of magic wand, right, to bring people to you. And I tell providers all the time, if you see somebody out there that's making you promises like that, like we can get you 100 patients in a month, you better be
Run.
because I'd rather be transparent with someone and set that expectation, and then things go well, right? But you knew from the get-go that it could take this long, kind of like the credentialing, right? We tell people it can take you up to 6 months to get credentialed. They're like, 6 months? Well, we hope it's going to come in between 90 and 120 days, but in reality, some of them take every day of 180 days or more. So if you know you're waiting for the 6 months, but you get done early, win, right? So it's just kind of setting that expectation there, and that it just doesn't happen overnight. But you mentioned earlier about talking to people, going out and networking. You got to do some work on your side too. It's not all social media. You have to talk to people. And I kind of make the similarity, or whatever you want to call it, of like, it does no different if you're selling Mary Kay or Tupperware or whatever. If you don't talk to people and tell people what you do, they don't know. And a lot of people think nurse practitioners are therapists. They don't even know that you can prescribe medication. So talking to people just in casual conversation, even about what you do. And because we know that 1 in 4 people have mental health issues, right? So if they don't need your help, chances are they're going to know somebody that does. And hopefully they're going to refer. And then before you know it, you're treating the whole family, right? So just talking to people, networking, everybody that comes around you, getting your name out there and stuff. And then before you know it, like you got patients coming out of your ears, and you've hired all these new providers and stuff too. So that's really, really cool. So just a couple more things. Technology, we touched a little bit on that. Are you using any other technology than what we set you up with? So you got Spruce, Intake Q, your website. Did you feel the need to use anything else out there?
No, originally I did Psychology Today as well. I would say that's a pretty good resource. Some people say it's better than others, but I feel like for me and my crew now, it's been helpful as far as a good marketing tool. But no, aside from that, literally the Intake Q and Spruce are pretty much it.
Good.
And my QuickBooks, I keep my own
QuickBooks.
ledgers or whatnot, the budget.
Yeah, QuickBooks is a beast. My CPA takes care of all that. And you touched a little bit about taxes a while ago, and I want to circle back to that briefly. I tell people, before you get a CPA, just start putting a third in a bank account somewhere. A third of everything you make in a bank account, because that's going to be about how much you're going to be owing the government. And also, getting the tax advice is hugely important. Every single thing that you purchase when you're starting your private practice, whether it's a pen, printer, paper, whatever, take a picture of those receipts, because those receipts fade, right? Everything you're buying online, don't put it on a shoebox, keep it all electronically. Your CPA will thank you for that later, but keep it all together, because I am the worst about saying, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then months pass and you got this whole stack of things that are looking you in the face, right? Going out to dinner with your spouse, doing these things that could potentially be tax deductible, and you have your receipts. That way you can give them to your CPA, And I don't know about you, but I like to keep as much money as I can. I don't want to give Uncle Sam any more than I have to. So having all of those things in mind, even if you're questionable, like, I don't know if this could be a tax deduction or not, keep the receipt and then ask your CPA about it. But have them also telling you, like, where's the break even point here? Maybe you're outsourcing a biller, but maybe it's more beneficial for you to hire a biller in your in-house. Maybe it's more beneficial for you to use a VA at one point, a virtual assistant. Maybe it's more beneficial for you to hire somebody at some point. So they are able to help you with that forecast planning, that financial planning, moving through your business. Are they cheap? Nope, they're not cheap. They're not cheap, but they're going to save you money.
Speaking, so basically, when I was working on my bachelor's and master's and all that, and even before that, I worked 10 years with a good friend of mine who was a CPA. So I had an idea of some of these things. But at the end of the day, you don't want just a CPA, you want a tax strategist. You want to interview a few people, because even my last CPA, I know how to read the tax returns and say, okay, there, make sure everything got addressed. And 2 years in a row, we missed the qualified business what is it, the QBI deduction for small businesses. And this first year I pointed it out, and then the second year she forgot again, and I told her, and it almost cost me $7,000. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. 2 years in a row. All right.
Yeah,
So
that's a small amount of money.
that's when you realize that, and your CPA, technically, if you have a good tax strategist CPA, then you're gonna be wanting to meet with them. It's worth the money to meet with them, not just during tax time. You want to meet with them at least maybe twice a year, three times a year, because you want to make sure that you're preparing for certain things and setting up certain things. Because yeah, I can tell you, I ended up paying a very low tax bracket compared to what I should have, because I took advantage of the tax benefits and tax deductions. So that's a huge thing that I tell people, that, hey, you want to invest some time with the CPA, talking about that and breaking it down. Make sure you understand how to do it too properly.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us taxes aren't fun, right? Nobody, unless you just think about, if you are like an accountant, I'm glad there's people like that out there. But it's not me, right? I don't want to have to worry about that. You want somebody else to just kind of take care of it. But at the end of the day, it's still your business, still your money. So you need to be able to ask questions, know things, look up things, and kind of gather that information for yourself. And it's great that you're able to catch that. $7,000 is no small amount of change, right? So being able to keep an eye on that, and then be able to tell you, which is, should you stay in LLC? When should you switch to an S Corp? All of these things that we just don't get taught in school, and you just don't know until somebody comes and tells you. But saving, that was a big thing for me in our first year of business, that always being a W-2 employee, right? That just take your taxes out. You don't worry about it. May have to owe a little bit at the end of the year, but it wasn't a big deal. When you start your own business, that's a whole different ball game, because if you get that big tax bill at the end of the year and you're like, holy molies, like, I'm what? What? So, and that's not the time to be trying to figure out how you're going to pay that and everything, because IRS don't play with you. So,
definitely not.
Yeah, they want their money yesterday. And if you have a state insurance or income tax, they want it even sooner. So making sure you're playing for that, that's golden information. So I don't want to keep you much longer. I appreciate you taking time out with us today, Gabriel, to discuss all this. I think people will find it very inspiring, and you sharing your story and everything, and your insight and your experience with everything. I want to thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to talking to you soon. And let us know if you need anything. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. Have a great one.
Take care. Bye-bye.